Hello, baseball fans. We'll give a few minutes here to get everything started. Everybody joining us. Hopefully, we'll have a great chat here tonight. I'm excited. Playoff baseball time is soon coming, so that's going to be a big plus as well. So, just going to get my notes here and my drink, and we will be off, and as I say, rambling real soon. So, Blue Jays have made the playoffs. That's right. Toronto Blue Jays have made the playoffs again. First time since, well, I guess that whole Bo Bichette era. Not Bo Bichette era, pardon me. I was going to say Jose Bautista era. That's right. Let's get this ramble off correct. That's right. Jays have made the playoffs. First time since we've had that epic run with Jose Bautista, Edwin, the Parrot, Marcus Stroman. If you remember those years, that big home run, the bat flip, and then, well, after the wild card in Texas, everything kind of just fizzled out for those runs. Will that happen this year? Well, no. I think the Jays are a much, much balanced baseball team this year. They are competent not only in their bullpen, not only in their starting rotation, but their lineup A to Z. And that's not something that the Jays had in that run with Jose Bautista. There was some epic gaps, in fact, with the Jays in those years. Not only with their starting rotation, but specifically with their bullpen. And their lineup kind of lacked near the end. It was a high-impact, high-powered lineup. And what the Jays have done this year with players like Bo Bichette and George Springer and Vladimir Guerrero, yeah, Vladdy does bring the power, don't get me wrong, but they have a full complement of defense, offense. They have that intelligence there, baseball intelligence that I mean. And I think that was something that was lacking to a certain degree back in the last run for the Jays in the playoffs. Pardon me as I rehydrate here. So, I did say that this was going to be an MLB prize as well. So we are going to be doing prizes, and we're going to be talking about that. Let me just get the chat up and running here. That way, if anybody does want to chat, we'll be able to see that. Perfect. So that being said, we will be doing an MLB Prize Giveaway. So hopefully you'll stay tuned to the end of the live stream today, because I'll be doing a question, and we'll give you up to 3 entries. And we're going to be doing another Blue Jays toque. That's right. Toque, if you're not Canadian, that's like a winter hat. We'll throw that on there. It's getting a little chilly out there soon. Going to be gearing up for, God forbid, snow. So we're going to be doing an MLB Prize Giveaway, and it's going to be a Toronto Blue Jays toque. We mailed out a couple last year, so we'll do some more this year. And we're eventually going to be doing a jersey prize giveaway. Not this Bo Bichette one, but we're going to have something else coming up around Christmas. It's going to be very, very big. So, the Jays have demolished Boston over the last 2 games. Yeah, everybody said they were going to be hungover this year, or this game today, and boy, oh boy, they certainly weren't. They came out pounding. The Jays want that home field advantage, and they're making a mark out of Boston. And thank God, because teams like, well, I guess Boston, which is kind of surprising this year that they are actually one of the lower-end teams, but certainly Baltimore coming up, who's playing better than Boston. These were the teams that the Jays had to dismantle and ultimately destroy to really make a deep impact come playoff time, make the playoffs, and really hit deep. So I'm glad the Jays are taking advantage of Boston this time around. I'm hoping for a big sweep with a win tomorrow. And if the Jays can get this done, I'm hoping and I'm seeing home field advantage. I don't want to say it yet because Seattle could still be sneaky. I'm watching the Rays game right now. They're losing to Houston, so thank you, Houston, for that. But at the moment, the Jays don't have it locked up, but it's still looking okay. I'm feeling good. Knock on wood, I guess. And why is home field advantage so important for that first round of the wild card? Well, you're going to get all 3 games. That's right, all 3 wild card games in your stadium. And if you've ever seen the Rogers Center, I call it the Sky Dome. If you've ever seen the Sky Dome during playoff time, boy, oh boy, it is a booming. It is absolutely nuts. And it's something that the Jays can harness that energy come and maybe overtake. Who I said is probably going to be Seattle. I'm feeling Seattle for some reason, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe because Seattle has that double header. They actually have an extra game that they have to play over the next couple days as opposed to other MLB teams. Certainly not Tampa. So that's why I'm thinking Seattle. Maybe Tampa Bay, but I'd prefer Seattle. And why would I prefer Seattle over Tampa Bay? Well, I just did a vlog on this. It's going to come out tomorrow, but I'm going to get into this a little bit tonight on the live stream. Seattle has that extra game that they have to play. Tampa will be a little bit more well-rested. Top of that, Tampa Bay, if you ever seen Tropicana Field, they don't harness no energy there. Tampa Bay plays equally as well away from home as they do from home. And Tampa Bay's always been one of those teams that have sort of nipped and bit Toronto right in the ass. And that's why, hey, if we can avoid them maybe for the first round, I wouldn't be too upset with that. But that does mean that we're going to have to ultimately deal with Seattle. And Seattle is certainly opposing if you look at their starting rotation. They have Robbie Ray, Luis Castillo, and Gilbert, who I saw pitch into the 8th inning, just unbelievable last night. This guy's got the stuff, and this is a guy who's going to be their number 3, who's probably going to go up against either Ross Stripling or who I figure will probably be Jose Barrios if it comes down to Game 3. So if they do play Seattle, they got to get this done in the first 2 games, because we don't want to be facing Gilbert come Game 3. That's where we might be a little bit overmatched or a little bit overpowered, so to speak, against a team like Seattle. But I think it will be Seattle, and I think the Jays will use that energy, that insanity from the home field to get the job done. That's what I'm hoping for. But hey, you can say, oh, we don't want to face pitchers like Luis Castillo, Robbie Ray, and Gilbert. And I say, hey, if we beat whoever we beat in the wild card, if we are lucky enough to beat them, we got Justin Verlander and the Houston Astros coming. Yeah, Justin Verlander, Cy Young Award, I'm sure this year, 1.8 something ERA. Just insanity for the guy's age, too. I'm not saying the guy's old. Oh, yeah, he's kind of old for baseball standards. And this is what Justin Verlander has done this year. So, pitching is just going to get bigger. The competition is going to get fiercer the deeper the Jays get into the playoffs. So, hey, let's rip off that bandage right away and get Seattle done. And talking about the playoff pitcher, let's pivot away from the American League and just appreciate how good, how deadly the National League is. Los Angeles Dodgers, 107 wins? Unbelievable. Just insanity. You want to talk about Jays worried about facing Seattle? What if we actually make it to the World Series and we're facing the Dodgers? Jeez Louise. Hey, I'd still take a loss in the Dodgers in the World Series just to get there. But the point is, we have to take a moment to really appreciate how good the National League is. How good these teams. It used to be the American League, but I say no. The National League are some of the teams to be feared. Yeah, I know the Padres, they kind of, I don't know, underperformed is maybe one word. Kind of sucked is another. Especially with Soto. Has that been a bust? We'll talk about that in a minute. But they should be a lot better, at least on paper. You got the Padres, you got the Braves, you got the Dodgers. Even the Brewers have put together a decent team. They are fierce competitive teams in the National League, and you got to give appreciation to that. And let's talk about Soto. 4 top players going to the Washington Nationals team. And it wasn't even a sign and extend. What do I mean by a sign and extend? It happens rarely in baseball, even in all sports. But that means that the trade is based on them being able to extend the player that they're trying to play for, get. So, that in this scenario, what they should have done, the Padres, is say, we'll take Juan Soto, but we want to extend him long term. And that's going to be tough, because if you look at Juan Soto and the history with Juan Soto, you'll know that he turned down, I think it was like a $400 million deal with the Nationals already. So this guy is exceptionally going to be overpaid. He wants that $500 million contract. So I don't even know if the Padres were in that position, but they should have been. Because basically they paid for 2.5 years of Juan Soto. The first half of the year, yeah, it's kind of sucks. So, I'm not saying it's a total bust, but with those 4 huge players going the Nationals' way, even if 2 of them turn around to be awesome major leaguers for their entire career, and if Soto stinks next year, I don't know. I think the Padres are going to be regretting that. And I said whoever made the trade for Juan Soto, I think we're really going to regret it. If I'm going to give those type of players, the type of players that the Padres gave Washington in this trade for Juan Soto, you bet your ass it better have been for Ohtani. And talking about Ohtani, is there hope there? Is there hope that the Angels can actually get this done and extend him long term? Why? Well, they avoided arbitration with Ohtani. They have extended him for his last year that they have him in arbitration, I guess. 30 million bucks. Just 30 million, yeah. Shows how much Ohtani's going to make in free agency. I'm saying it could be well over 40, maybe close to $50 million a year. Well over $500 million contract, maybe even exceeding 600 million bucks for Ohtani. But by the Angels stepping up and at least giving 30 million bucks next year, makes me think. Could the Angels get it done? We'll see. And let's talk about extensions for a while. Okay. I did a vlog about Manoah. We'll talk about him in a second. But let's talk about Vladdy. Vladdy now says that he is open to that long-term extension with the Jays. And if you see a vlog that I did a few weeks ago, go check it out. I need the views, so go check it out. But if you saw the vlog that I did a few weeks ago, you'll say that I think that the Jays could give Vladdy that long-term contract. I think it could be around 420, 440 million. I think I roughed it out at. And I said the big key there to get it done is giving Vlad multiple opt-outs throughout that contract, maybe after year 8, 9, 12, whatever. So that the first contract that he signs maybe is that $112, $130 million contract that gets him 1 or 2 years past his arbitration. Maybe he opts out. It goes for even a bigger contract, but that's really what the Jays want to achieve there. And I think it can be done now, especially that Vladdy is so open to that. And then we can pivot to other players because I really firmly believe that the amount of money that the Blue Jays are going to have to pay to extend somebody like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., that huge contract, is going to determine their payroll flexibility for other players and other extensions moving forward. Think about it. If Vladdy's making 25 million bucks a year, that sounds decent average. Springer's making 25 million, you're up to 50. Add on 23 and 20 for Gausman and Barrios, respectively. You're up to 93 million bucks for 4 players already. Sometimes that's half of the Jays' payroll. Actually, usually exceeding half of the Jays' payroll. So, that's why I say the Vladdy contract is going to dictate the Blue Jays' future. But by extending players like Alek Manoah and even Alejandro Kirk, but we'll talk about Manoah here, quick and young, locking them up and overpaying for those arbitration years, but overpaying for the pre-arbitration years, but underpaying for the arbitration years and maybe 1 or 2 years into free agency could significantly benefit the Jays if they're going to have such a high payroll moving forward. That's where you could have somebody like Alek Manoah on a $12.5 million annual value, even somebody like Kirk, and you got 2 players for 25 million bucks moving forward. The only way to do that, though, is for the Jays to take the gamble, and I say let's not do it with Kirk, because I'm not too sure, but certainly let's do it with Alek Manoah moving forward and get this deal done. But nothing's going to happen until they extend Vladdy. He's the first domino to fall, and it's a big, expensive domino at that. So, that's my thoughts on Alek Manoah. And Bo Bichette. We're going to have to do a vlog about Bo Bichette down the road. Because I think after they get done with Vladdy, they are going to focus to one of the catchers, probably Kirk. I don't see it being Moreno. I think he's going to get traded. We'll talk about that in a second. But you're going to see extensions for people like Alejandro Kirk and Alek Manoah. And I think, and I worry, perhaps, that might leave Bo Bichette out in the cold. Somebody who might just have that animosity that he didn't get that extension and fight the Jays through arbitration process. I really hope not, but I'm starting to get a sniff that could happen. Let me know if you think I'm wrong in the comments there. So, I said it before, but the Jays, they have to face Seattle or Tampa Bay, and if it's Seattle, it could be tough. But I said, hey, you also have Verlander next round in Houston. And let's talk about Verlander, his age. He's a very mature player. People were surprised that he was still getting the extensions that he was. Some people even questioned if he was going to be playable this year. I didn't buy into that, but I certainly didn't expect him to put together the season that he has. Last time I checked, he had a 1.80 ERA. That is unbelievable. That is beyond Cy Young stuff. This is guys getting it done. He's going to be a Cy Young winner. That's it. Everything's off the table. Sorry, Manoah, you had a great year, but Justin Verlander at the end had an unbelievable year. Sometimes underscored by Aaron Judge and his 61, maybe 62 home runs. We'll see how it goes before the end of the season. But I think the real storyline here should be Justin Verlander and the season that he has put together. So kudos to Justin Verlander. Good baseball is good baseball. Whether you root for the Astros or you loathe them with their history, you still got to appreciate what Verlander has done this year. And talking about Verlander being the MVP, or Cy Young, let's talk about the MVP. Who do you think? Should it be Judge? I mean, look at the offensive numbers he's put together this season. Number one in almost every category. Absolutely insanity. Or, you got Ohtani. Somebody who's putting together really solid offensive numbers and unbelievable pitching numbers, and you combine them together, and he's doing Babe Ruth stuff. I actually think it's going to be Ohtani yet again this year. I think it's going to be a fierce battle. I think there's going to be a lot of pushback by Ohtani winning again, back-to-back. But ultimately, if you can do both and do both as well as Ohtani does, maybe that's a little bit more important than 62 home runs, or 61. I keep saying 62, because I keep thinking he's going to hit the next one. But 61 home runs. I don't know. That's a real fierce debate. I'm curious afterwards when looking at the comments of what you guys think. Do you think it's going to be Judge, or do you think it's going to be Ohtani to be the big MVP winners this year? Interesting. And I talked about Bo being left behind in extensions for the Blue Jays. Let's talk about free agency real quick, because there's one player who I think is going to be coming to the Blue Jays next year. I'm feeling really confident about this guy. And he's somebody who's been a Blue Jay once before. Somebody who we traded for R.A. Dickey back for that last playoff run. And somebody who I think I could be an impact on this one. You figured it out yet? If you're a true Blue Jay fan, you know who it is. It's nobody before Noah Syndergaard. That's right. Noah Syndergaard came this close to signing with the Blue Jays in the offseason. And he said that publicly, so that's not speculation. Not something I'm making up. This is fact. And I think he's going to be like Kevin Gausman. The Jays had been on Kevin Gausman year after year, and they finally got the deal done. Kevin Gausman was no stranger to the Blue Jays. They did their homework on him. And that's kind of the same similarities with Noah Syndergaard. And I think Noah Syndergaard, getting a little bit older, is really going to want to play for a team like the Blue Jays who's going to get the deal done. And I think it's not going to be $20 million or $23 million that the Angels signed him for. I think we're actually going to get a bit of a discount, because he was injured throughout the season, but he still put up a decent ERA. I think it's around 4.0. And for somebody who we want to be a number 4 or 5 in the rotation, he fits the bill perfectly, in my opinion. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Do you think Noah Syndergaard, maybe on a 2-year contract, possibly 3? I'm hoping for 2. Do you think that's something that could be awesome for the Jays? Think of the rotation then next year. You have Alek Manoah, Kevin Gausman, Jose Barrios, Noah Syndergaard. That's a decent number 4. And I think number 5, they're going to give him another chance until he blows it again. It's probably going to be Kikuchi. I think Stripling is certainly going to be going elsewhere. Yeah, Stripling's going elsewhere. And let's talk about Stripling for a second. Qualifying offer for Ross Stripling? What do you think? Yes or no? I'm leaning towards a big yes. They turned it down for Steve Matz. And Steve Matz and Stripling has some comparisons. Stripling certainly has upside, but like Steve Matz, he put together an awesome, solid year in his last year. Then he went and signed a $45 million contract with the Cardinals. Certainly blew up for the Cardinals. He's been injured, had an ERA of like 5.50 or at least north of that. So we're not off to a good start for Steve Matz and that contract with the Cardinals. I think Stripling's going to get at least a 4-year deal. I think he's going to get something north of $50 million, and I think it's that 4 years that's ultimately going to make the Jays bow out. And that's why we got Kikuchi for number 5 again. And maybe the Jays will hope for health from Nate Pearson. I don't know, finally. He's going to be pitching maybe in the playoffs, so he's going to do okay, I hope, in the bullpen aspect. And I think ultimately, that's where he needs to be, not to pivot from rotation to bullpen and one player to another. But if we're talking about Nate Pearson, I think he might be a ultimate bullpen piece. He's been lighting it up in Buffalo and actually did quite well. He's been touching 100 again. So it's interesting if we do see him come postseason time. I don't know if the Jays will take that gamble with him because there's always that concern about his command. And let's face it, your first time coming up to the biggies this season and we throw you into a playoff situation, I don't know if that's good dice. But I could definitely see Nate Pearson being a part of the Blue Jays rotation moving forward, but I see him more as part of the Blue Jays bullpen now. And that would be great, because if we had Jordan Romano as number 9 closer, and we had Nate Pearson blowing it up at 100 miles an hour as a number 8, wow. Think about how that could be. And then we have somebody, that we sign, somebody like a Anthony Bass, but that solid 8-9, if Noah can, or Nate Pearson can get it done, is certainly something that I would want to explore. And as we close up tonight, we'll talk about a couple other things. I know we've been going for more than 20 minutes. Talking about trades and free agents, I think Gabriel Moreno and Teoscar are both probably going to get traded come offseason time. Yeah, 2 big players. And I said I wouldn't be upset if one of those 2 trades, if done separately, got us prospects. I think there's a lot of value in trading Gabriel Moreno. While he has a lot of upside for MLB prospects, certainly even single A prospects or low A prospects, prospects that are 3 or 4 years away from even making it to the major league, where we can get an abundance of for that trade. Players that will complement the Blue Jays once we finish off the contracts of people like Alek Manoah, Jose Vladdy Guerrero possibly, Bo Bichette, George Springer, Kevin Gausman. When we have that flip and an eventual rebuild of the Jays, maybe having a small startup or at least a head start on that rebuild could have a lot of benefit to Toronto. And I think it did this time around. Remember, when we were entering in the playoffs with Jose Bautista, we already had Vladdy, really, really young Vladdy, but we already had the cornerstone of the Blue Jays signed. And yeah, it really worked out. And then all those other acquisitions that we've made through the drafts and through trades has made the Jays what they are today, but we actually had a bit of a running head start. And by trading Gabriel Moreno away for prospects, it might allow Toronto the opportunity to do that again. The reason why I think Teoscar is ultimately going to be traded away is Teoscar has rejected a Blue Jays extension twice in his career already. He's coming up to, next year will be his last year with the Jays before hitting free agency. So with Tio, it's either one more year of Tio and then he leaves, or we trade him for something in return where maybe we could get 1 or 2 years, or maybe a starting pitcher, maybe somebody who can come in and solidify second base if Espinal's still hurt. Not that Whit Merrifield hasn't been doing a good job, but certainly there's room for improvement in different areas come the 2023 season. I don't know. Let me know what you think in below. And let's finish it off here. We're going to talk about the Jays in Baltimore quickly, and we still have the MLB Prize. So I'm going to be asking that question in just a minute here. But we got Baltimore coming up for 3 more games, 1 more game against Boston. Jays are looking really good come playoff pitcher time. As I said at the beginning of this live stream tonight, I'm really excited, feeling confident, knock on wood, that the Jays could definitely lock up home field advantage in 3 games. I'm hoping 2. Hey, let's get this done quick. Jays are going to be absolutely insane. Sorry, Jays fans. Just can't wait for that energy for that first wild card game, especially if it's in Toronto. I don't know. I'm just overly excited. I'm glad we're back into the playoffs. And I think for the Jays, it's going to be a legacy thing where we get a couple years of playoffs here. Here's really hoping. So, last thing tonight, I said it's an MLB Prize live stream as well. So I'm going to ask the question. All you have to do is be a subscriber and answer in the comments below. And I'm going to give you up to 3 entries for that Blue Jays toque. And what we'll do is on game 1 of the first series, we're going to try to do another live stream that night. And that's when we will announce the winner. So game 1 of the wild card, we will announce the winner. And here is the question. Back in 1993... World Series, the Toronto Blue Jays were playing the Philadelphia Phillies, and there was an absolute insane game where a crazy amount of runs were scored, where it was pouring rain. If you look through Blue Jays history, you'll know what game I'm talking about. And here's the question. How many total runs were scored in that crazy game between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Philadelphia Phillies in the 1993 World Series? If you can answer that in the comments below and you're a subscriber, that's one entry. And I'll give you a bonus entry. If you can tell me how many total hits were in that game, I'll give you 2 entries. And you want one more? Okay, I'll give you one more entry into it. All you have to do is hit like and share. You hit like and share, you get an entry. If you can tell me how many hits, you'll get an entry. And if you can tell me how many runs, you'll get an entry. And what game am I talking about? Say it one more time. Toronto Blue Jays, Philadelphia Phillies. That crazy, insane game where there was an unbelievable amount of runs scored, rain delays. If you're a Blue Jays fan, you'll know what game I was talking about with the Jays and the Phillies. Answer that in the comments below. And if you've seen my previous live streams, we'll get an MLB toque headed your way. Thanks for tuning in for the live stream tonight. As I said, we'll do another one during Game 1 of the Wild Card where we'll announce the winner. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. I'm a brand new YouTuber. As you can see, I don't have much here, just a love of baseball. So your support is really appreciated. But more importantly, I hope you guys all stay safe. Hope you'll check out my vlogs, and we'll talk soon. All right, have a great Saturday night, guys. Take care.